Welcome to another episode of KimAppa, the podcast that I do with the second most famous cricketer I now know. I should have said Indian cricketer as well, just to completely rub it in. Here's Robbie, I'm Jared. It's sad to say this is the final episode because, Robbie, I've upscaled now. So if...
Yeah, sure, buddy.
This episode, we wanted to talk about Virat Kohli's 100 yesterday. Robbie, you have lots and lots of thoughts. I went through it. I actually saw more of the South African innings than I did the India one. And then I went back on NV Play and I looked at every single ball. Where do you want to start on that innings, my man?
Oh, dude, first of all, what an absolute beauty of an innings, eh? I think from the word go, what stood out was his hunger, right? And did you see it? You could see it in his eyes again. That glint was actually back in his eyes, right? And he looked like genuinely rejuvenated. He looked prepared, in the sense that it wasn't like in the past there was a lack of preparation, but I think there was his eyes and it's just himself, he just looked fatigued in the past, where it felt like he was trying, and there's a fatigue that was present in his eyes. It almost felt like where it felt like there's something that because there was a period of time where he was trying to score runs and it just wasn't happening. And I think that fatigue of just trying to make something work for him began, showing up in his eyes, and what you could see yesterday was that real quiet confidence about his own game. You could see there was preparation. You could see that he's been batting for a while. Just the way he tracked the ball. There were certain things that just the way he approached his batting with, that just made you feel so happy to see him in the kind of form that he was in. The amount of time he had to play each ball is what stood out for me. That was the most important bit for me.
It's fascinating, but I thought one of the really interesting things was, like, you just talked about him trying so hard. There's when you're boxing, have you ever done any boxing?
No.
So when you box, if you throw a punch, right, and you miss the target, it kind of like saps your energy more than hitting the target.
Yes. Right? It happens while batting as well. While
That's
power
what I mean.
batting,
Yeah.
You swing at a ball and then you miss it. And then that actually takes a lot more energy than actually hitting a ball does.
Yeah, and I think that, like, watching him over the last couple of years, there have been times when I felt that, where I felt like he just looks tired, but he's not tired from like the length of the innings or anything. He's just tired from the extra energy sapping out of his body because things aren't going the way he wants and everything else. I thought it was interesting. Can we go back? Let's go back to the start, because it's a fascinating innings. This is one reason I really like doing stuff like this. Is I think most people will be like, oh, he came in and he smoked the ball from the start to the end. He actually was all over the place for the first few deliveries. His head was falling over. He doesn't like it when Nandre Berger bowls that sort of leg stump line to him. He really gets in a bad position. He got one edge through the cordon for 4. There was an LBW shout. And if you look at it, the first sort of big shot he plays is like a jumpy tennis forehand to mid-off from Marco Janssen. like he wasn't really fluent at the start of this innings, right?
Yeah. And that can happen, right? Because you haven't had match time under your belt for a while. You've been waiting for that opportunity to come along. You played in Australia before that. You've come a few days early. You try to set yourself up in a way where you get accustomed to the conditions. I think more than that, I think what for me kind of stood out was when he came out to bat, you saw that there were nerves, and that means that was actually a good sign for me, because you knew that. Because sometimes when you've done so much and you've played for so long, and you've tried, and then you can get to a place where after you've scored 50, 52, 50 hundreds in the version of a game, you can get somewhere where you feel less motivated, right? Or you feel like you can take things for granted for sometimes. but we knew that was not that's not going to be the case with Virat coming in here. But there were nerves, which and I like nerves when when you start an innings,
Mm.
because it shows that you truly care and you really want to perform, and that for me was special, I thought. And just the way he I think just the way he approached, um, the reverence with which he approached his batting in that first 10 balls for me was really cool.
It's also fascinating. He hits the ball to mid off. Like, I think I counted 7 times in the first 10, 15 balls.
Mm.
Maybe it was longer than that. Maybe it was 20 balls. And then South Africa go with a catching short mid off to him,
Mm.
which I can't remember many teams ever in ODI cricket trying before. It's a fascinating thing. And Virat Kohli sort of sees it and goes, "Oh, okay," and then just hits a six over his head.
Yeah, yeah.
It was an incredible little battle. It felt like to me that it looked like an older player trying to sort of find the right processes to make it work, and the other team being like, "Well, that's obvious. If he's just going to hit everything here, we'll just put a guy here," and then he just counters it instantly.
Yeah, I think it was almost like, you know, him saying, "Oh, this is what you're gonna do against me. I'm just gonna do what I should have been doing right all along, you know."
Mm.
And the ball's pitched up, just back myself and go over the top. And that wicket was perfect for him, wasn't it? Like, it was a great wicket. It was a quick wicket,
Mm.
came on. It felt like there was nice bounce on that wicket. It's the kind of wicket that the Indians would thrive on, especially in white ball.
Yeah, it also had that kind of feeling, especially when South Africa lost the early wickets. It felt like a '03 World Cup wicket where India was just going to bat first, make a lot of runs, and then under lights, their bowlers were going to move it around too much. So he kind of goes on from there, and it's noticeable for me, especially at this age, how much more comfortable he looks against right arm seam than left arm seam.
Hmm. You can say that as in you, if you're observant enough, it's almost like you can feel it a little bit.
Mm.
You feel like that ball coming back in, because see, that's one of the things, right? As a right hand batter, you don't go up against left arm seam as much as you go
Yeah,
up against right arm seam as well. Even in the nets, right? You have to specifically do it
yeah.
because you're
And when you get net bowlers left arm, they're usually nowhere near international quality because if they were, they'd
no
already be
chance.
playing.
No chance. That's absolutely right, actually. And so when you're facing top quality fast bowlers, left arm seamers, especially the one who have the ability to bring it back in, it's always going to play in the back of your mind, right?
Mm.
You almost have to pre-decide, okay, how you're going to approach batting to him. Like, in your head, you got to be like, okay, I know that this is how he's going to bowl. For example, like an Andre Berger, he's going to bowl quick. It's going to be he's going to hit the head deck hard, and there could be an opportunity where he gets the ball, like he can look to bowl the ball full, and he can get the ball to come back in,
Yep.
right? Yeah, and then so that's always going to be playing in the back of your head. Like, you want to make sure that you want to avoid getting wrapped on the pads when you're playing up against those kind of bowlers. And when that happens, you can seem like you're going to be a little tentative till you get in. But when he was actually batting initially, the ball wasn't swinging as much
No,
to Andre. It was actually just going through a little
it was
bit.
more the angle, right? There's something specifically about that angle that I think
Yeah,
he struggles with. And also, like, Marco Janssen is different because Marco Janssen's just a different quality of bowler. But he also doesn't particularly like taller bowlers, right? If you go through all
yeah.
of his stats over a period of time. So in the last 3 years of ODI cricket, he's averaged 74 against the right arm seam,
Mm.
49 against left arm. So it's not as if he's getting out to it all the time. It's just that he doesn't look as comfortable. But the real difference is the run rate. He's got a strike rate of 110 against right arm seam, and it comes down to 97, I think, against left arm seam. So there's a noticeable difference. And when
Mm.
and the fact that they started with two, because if you look at this team, you would actually start with Bartman and Janssen, right? They're the two new ball specialists in this team,
Yeah,
right? And they didn't. They went with Nondre
yeah,
Berger, and I wonder if that, both him and Rohit at times struggle a little bit against left arm seam. So I don't know if that's the reason,
yeah.
whatever it was. But I thought that was quite fascinating. I want to talk to you about something else that I really like, is getting ahead of the counts is basically the way that I look at this. So
Hmm.
he did this was a very classical ODI innings, Robbie, because
Mm.
he attacked in the power play. He then let the scores get back. He then waited for a good matchup and he went ahead again. Then he slowed down again. Then he went ahead. And then when he got to his 100, that's when he explodes, right? It's like
Yeah.
2014 ODI innings, this particular one, right? But what's interesting is I think he does keep a really close eye on when it gets to about run a ball again, because I think he could tell in this innings I can't drop it between underneath a run a ball, and he gets to 47 off 47, right? And I think he thinks to himself, well, how have I got back here? Like I was miles ahead of this, and then straight away he hits Corbin Bosch for a big six to bring up his 100. And actually, when he gets behind in the count, or does he get behind? What if we get him to? Yeah, he gets behind the count
towards 100. Yeah,
but it's not his 100. Like this isn't a perfect example of someone slowing down for the 100. He actually gets stuck on the 80s. And do you know why he gets stuck in the 80s? It's because Nandre Berger comes back on, right? And weirdly enough, Nandre Berger bowls very differently to him, but he just gets stuck. Yeah,
glad you noticed that. So he bowled different, and it was not just him. It was across the board. All the bowlers started bowling a lot more slower balls.
Yeah, and wide,
and then and slightly wider as well. So the minute you started doing that, it started holding up on the wicket.
Yeah.
So he was forced to slow down, right? That's what I absolutely loved about this innings, right? The fact that there was this ebb and flow, and he stuck to his template, right? He was dominating first. He got in. There were nerves initially. And he got past the nerves. He backed himself. When they started putting pressure on him, they showed him he's actually king. So and he's here to rule. And then he started playing and dominating. And then once Rohit got out, he slowed down just a bit so that he could build that momentum up as a partnership again. Then a couple of wickets fell. I think Rohit got out. Then who came at number? No. Then Ruturaj got out.
Yeah.
And then I think it was with the who batted number?
Was it Rahul after that?
No, Rahul came at 6. Washington came in. Okay? Yeah. Washi came in. That was also a small partnership, not much. But then he was building momentum up with Washi when he got out, right? And then Rahul came in, and then they started stitching up a partnership, and then they started bowling slower balls then, right? And then started. You could see that there was a stark difference, and every bowler was looking to bowl. The minute they got that, the fact that the slow ball's holding in the wicket, every fast bowler went to that, right? And then so he waited for the off spinner to come back. Sinarayan, is it? What's the name?
That's a good question that I should know.
Sinarayan, I think.
I thought you would know his name, and I would be the one listening to you say it, and I was going to copy you. It's Sabrayan, isn't it?
Sabrayan, yeah. Subramaniam. So basically, So basically, it's a version of Subramaniam, Subrayan. so he came on to bowl, and so the minute he came on to bowl, then he went back into the attack again. And then the important thing was the kind of batsmanship that he used to play against Subrayan, in the sense that he didn't go after him. So generally, a lot of batters, when they get an off spinner who they can dominate, what they go is they go hammer in tongs and then kind of hit them out of the attack. You know, he hit him. He milked him good enough to an extent where he kept him in the attack, but still got runs off him.
Yeah. You know? I think again though that feels to me a very old school way of doing it because.
But it works. It actually, and the beauty is you can actually do it in one-day cricket. You have the luxury of time to do it in one-day cricket.
But if it's me, I would prefer that you attacked him once you knew you could, right? So that he has to go out of the attack, and then they have to use someone else who's not as good.
No, and that's the thing. It depends on if you feel you're comfortable enough on a wicket like that to keep milking this bowler to score runs for yourself and for the team. You would do that. Why would you have a plan B where you don't know who the option's going to be like? Right? Maybe he just felt like, just the way Subrayan bowled, maybe he felt, for the sake of argument, maybe he felt, you know, his trajectory and the way he's bowling just makes me feel a lot more confident about taking him down to the cleaners versus a guy like Markram who probably come in and who bowls those slower balls.
I probably look at it differently. Of like they only used 5 bowlers and we made 332.
40.
I kind of want to break that. Once I know how I can break him, right? Because it's a fascinating. The one thing I would say that is different about this innings than you would get in a classical ODI innings is the fact he did hit sixes quite regularly throughout the whole time.
6.
Yeah, but it wasn't like they all came at the end, right? That would have been the more classical way. Like he hit one in the power play, he hit the other one when he's scoring 50, and occasionally. That's the side of it. And then he gets to 100. He did slow down on 99, by the way, and almost ran himself out. So again, as me and Robbie have talked about before, absolute worst thing that cricket ever did was stop to celebrate people's hundreds. Should be banned. Terrible.
Hey,
But
can
then he
we
went.
pull out a stat? Can we get Rakshit to pull up a stat? How many hundreds has he got batting first versus how many hundreds has he got batting second?
Ruckshit definitely can't do that, but I can do that. Um, what? So you want in one day cricket?
In one day cricket?
Yeah, we can bring that up.
Because for me, I thought it was an absolute masterclass of how to kind of pace an innings and have the ability to go with the ebb and flow and stay in the present and control the ebb and flow almost as, saying that, okay, I'll like, he knew because he knew that I think when Rahul came on to bat, he knew that that partnership was going to be important from the perspective of the game because the conditions there's only going to get, slightly better to bat on in
Yeah.
the evening.
Do you? While I look this up, do you think there is an element of what's the best way of putting it? Do you think that and I've completely forgotten what I was going to ask. Anyway, oh no, I do know what I was going to ask.
Mm.
Do you think he feels more comfortable in partnerships than normal players? I think that several times in this, as you said, when he wasn't sure about the partnership, he would slow down in a way that we maybe wouldn't see Travis Head slow down or AB de Villiers slow down or Chris Gale slow down, right? They're more comfortable of, I feel good. I've got to back my skills here. I feel that I remember when I worked with RCB, that was one of the things that they said they had a lot of issues with, which is Virat would like hit a four on the fifth ball of the over, and they had a great matchup, right? And then the next ball they'd want him to go for another four, and he'd look at the other end and be like, "Oh, that guy's not that good. I'll get a single." And they're like, "Oh, just
Yeah.
hit the four, right? You just had a half tracker bowl to you. Just hit the four," and he wouldn't. He would purposely hit a single. So I think he's a lot more. We might be inventing a new cricket term here, but I think he's a lot more partnership coded than other players in that he's like the partnership has to be good, and then I will go. Whereas there are other players who are like, I am good, so I will go.
Yeah, so the thing is, what I think is, it's gonna happen, right? Because I think as a player today, you're you're a lot more aware that you're not playing cricket as regularly as you used to. As in, I'm speaking
Mm.
strictly from the perspective of Virat right now, right? He's not playing Test cricket. He's not playing T20 cricket. Sorry, yeah, T20I cricket. So he's only playing this version of the game, and then the IPL happens, and he's playing that, right? So I think he wants to, and he was someone who was the kind of batter who would try and do everything by himself, right? And he had the confidence to be able to pull off everything by himself, irrespective of the version of the game, and he did it successfully a lot of times as well. And I think that's why his stats are so rich because he had the conviction and the belief that he could do everything and he could win games single-handedly. And I think that conviction was very real for him. And I think a period of time where those runs didn't happen, what that can do is it can push you back into a place where you want to feel like um, you want to feel supported in a situation till you build your confidence back up again, right? At the end of the day, Virat's human; he's not a machine, and 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 I think with from that perspective, I think um, if you see even in Australia, um, he's it feels like he's a lot more giving in a partnership, if that makes any sense.
Mm.
um, it feels like they're two parts of the same thing versus him trying to do everything when he was at his peak, irrespective of who was batting with him. At that point, he needed someone to just hang in there and feed in the strike. Now that's not the case. He's able to play equal partner as well, you know
Yeah.
and I think that's only added to his batting and made it taken pressure off him almost, to go out there and continue to bat. And you can see in his demeanor that he enjoys batting with certain people. Like with Rohit, you can see that right now. It's very evident, and now that's why this whole Roko thing seems like it's caught wind right now because I think they're enjoying batting together. You know, it seems like
Well,
the internal competition has died down a little bit, and it's almost like, hey, let's really make this work together and build that narrative up at this point in our careers.
also, like I think there's definitely an element of and this is one of the things that RCB were basically saying is if the player at the other end is someone he trusts, he is more comfortable in a partnership. And when it's someone at the other end who he doesn't trust, and if you look at that, if he's batting with Rohit, right, or KL Rahul, that's very different than batting with Gutaraj or Ruturaj, sorry, or Washi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And not that he doesn't trust these guys. It's just that batting with Rohit and with Rahul, there's a lot more familiarity than
yeah. I
batting
not
with
trust
these
is
other
probably the
guys.
wrong way. Not being 100% sure what to do is maybe the
Yeah,
better,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Whereas he
And
knows
it's
exactly what his
taken him a
role is with
while,
those
right?
guys.
And you gotta like empathize with the fact that it's probably taken him a while because there was only one way where in one day cricket it was irrespective of who he was batting with. He was like, I'm gonna do everything. And the
Yeah.
intensity you could feel. Right now that intensity feels a lot more measured. It feels a lot more it's like a steady ember
Mm.
versus a raging fire what it used to be in the past. And the steady ember is for me, for a personality like Virat, is so cool to watch simply because a steady ember, a raging fire can be like can go off and go out of control anytime. But this guy with as an ember, you can up your intensity as much as you want and then come back down and just kind of keep that fire burning, sustainably over a period of time as well. So
Mm.
that's what I like about it. And in his format, this is his format, right? The ODI format is basically he's the master of this format. Can you pull up that stat where his
I've got
hundreds?
lots of
Because
stats.
mm,
What let me go through a
the
couple
one,
here. So
how many
first,
hundreds versus the first and the second innings?
well, okay, he's played 134 games in the first innings, and he scored 24 hundreds. And he's played 168 games in the second innings, and he scored 28 hundreds. So the hundreds
Mm,
isn't all that different.
yeah, yeah,
But there's some
it's not.
things here that are different. Do you want me to go through the things that are different?
Go for it, yeah.
In the first innings, he has 14 ducks. In the second innings, he has 4 ducks.
Mm,
That's a big difference, right? Like that's
mm,
a very noticeable difference. In the first innings, Robbie, he has 11 not outs. In the second
mm.
innings, he has 35 not outs,
Not outs, yeah.
right? He averages 51 in the first innings and he averages 64 in the second innings with a strike rate of 93 in both. So the strike rates are pretty similar. And
Yeah.
I split this up. I can split this up by those include day games and day night games, right?
Mm, mm,
If you just look at day night games, because then we know he's
mm,
batting in the daytime and then he's batting in the nighttime. I wondered if there was a bigger difference there. So when he's batting in, he's batted 101 times in the daytime, and he has an average of 53 at a strike rate of 94. And when he bats under lights, 127 times, and he has an average of 67 and a strike rate of 95. So I wondered if there was an element there of, I wondered if there was a bit of an element there of that he likes the ball coming on a little bit quicker, and under lights that happens. There's a little bit of it, but not as much as I thought it would be. But when you
So,
look at this,
mm,
most of his ducks have come, like 6 of his ducks have come in day games, opening the batting first. So it's that early morning pitch that gets him most of those ducks. He doesn't get as many ducks in the day night games when
mm,
he's batting in the afternoon,
there you go.
comparatively when you look at the amount of games he's played. So that's a
Yeah.
weird, fascinating thing.
It tells you so much about an athlete, right? When you look at stats like this, as in you can tell that there are guys who prefer to bat first, right, and set the tone
Mm.
basically, right, and build the foundation upon which the games kind of made and created. But then there are guys who actually like to see what the game is about and then complete the task,
Yeah.
right? And Virat's the guy who prefers knowing what the score is, what the task is, and then going out there and single-handedly achieving it. That's why he's called the chase master, right? Because of the fact that he can get any score done, right? He can run down any score, right? And I think I actually asked you to pull up that stat because I was like, okay, this guy clearly loves batting second a lot more
Mm.
than batting first. But I stand corrected. Actually, he's actually as good batting first versus batting second. He's probably slightly better
No,
batting
no.
second.
He's if you just looked at his batting first stats, he's still an all-time great, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Strike
Just on its
rate's a
own.
little bit of an issue, but not a massive one. It's still in the 90s, so you'd still take it. Batting second, he's arguably the greatest player that we've ever seen. With in that. So
Would you say
if you
his strike rate is an issue? 93 for a guy who started playing in 2008. I don't think that's an issue, yeah.
it's considerably slower than the Viv
In
Richards.
in this era, sure, but
No.
in the
But
era
even
that
if
he
you look
started.
across eras, it's slower than the sort of Viv Richards, AB de Villiers type players, right? Like it's a noticeable step back from them.
Is it? Like,
So
what is Virender Sehwag's strike rate?
108,
His
and that was an
yeah,
era before Virat. I think so. I'm doing
yeah, but
I'm doing
he
these off
was
the top of my head. Let's see how good I am with Virender
yeah,
Sehwag's strike rate. I think Virender Sehwag is the most underappreciated ODI player of all time.
100%. Dude, he's a
Oh, I was wrong. It's not 108.
yeah.
It's 104.
How much?
That's that's
But
noticeably quicker. Do you see what I'm saying?
yeah,
So, you
yeah, for
know,
sure.
so
Because but Virubai was a completely different kind of player
no,
than
I,
Virat was.
all
Yeah,
I'm saying, and didn't average anywhere near as much. Whereas
yeah.
Viv Richards and AB de Villiers do average. Up until the 2023 World Cup, Viv Richards' numbers were still comparable to Rohit Sharma's. That's not inflation. That's like just raw numbers. So he averaged in one-day cricket. Of course, it's now disappeared off my screen. He averaged in one-day cricket 47 with a strike rate of 90 in the 70s and 80s. So that's what you're comparing Virat to. So if you go the second innings of Virat and he's averaging 66, that's a big jump up on Viv's record at that point, right? But he's actually not striking all that much quicker than Viv did 30 years earlier. So that's the people that you're going up against, right? And I think you can argue, I think we came up with, and we will get you to do this, of course, just because we want you to be roasted on the internet. But we came up with the top 4 ODI batters of all time with Virat, Sachin, Viv, and AB de Villiers. And then it's really up at that point. I think those 4 stand out in a way that no one else ever has. And at that point, you have to start to. It's about personal preference of, do you like strike rate more? Do you like chasing more? Do you like explosiveness more? Do you like do you know what I mean? Like you have to kind of work out, maybe run totals in some of those cases, because AB doesn't quite have the runs that obviously that Sachin and Virat are going to end up with, right? Like, all those sorts of things play a part. But yeah, no, 92, 93 is good, but when you compare it with, some of the other players, and especially when you adjust for eras, Virat's strike rate doesn't pop in the way that obviously AB de Villiers and Joss Butler and Glenn Maxwell's strike rates do pop, even when you adjust for eras.
Yeah,
So
but
different kinds of players, different roles,
yeah, different
all
kind
those
of players,
things are
different
fair.
roles.
Yeah, but
Still all match winners, but
yeah,
in their
yeah,
own right.
exactly. But it's why
Yeah,
why it's very hard to beat Viv, because
Yeah.
he was playing one-day cricket in the 70s the way that it was still being played in the 2015, 2018 period. Like up until 2019, everything Viv did was still faster than everyone else, and still averaging 50, and against the red ball, Robbie. Not even the white
Oh
ball.
my
Most of his
God.
career was
Oh,
against the
dude,
red ball.
that is something that, very few people will be able to relate to, because as in practically we've all seen one-day cricket being played in white ball, right? There was a period of time when one-day cricket was played strictly in red ball, in the whites, and
Dude.
that cricket was something else altogether.
When do you
Like,
think
you
they
needed
stopped
different
using
skills.
the red ball in one-day cricket?
I think it was late. It was, I think, the transition between 1999, 98, 99, and 2001. Between then, where they
Yeah,
completely
I
stopped.
think I'm trying to remember the exact series. The last red ball one-day series is, I think, England, Sri Lanka. This is not including associate cricket. I'm sure it happened a couple more times in associate cricket. But the last one that we know of major ODI, certainly one-day internationals that I'm aware of, is England hosting Sri Lanka in 97 or 98, I think is the last time. For instance,
No,
I'm pretty
much later,
sure.
bro. I remember India playing New Zealand in India, and was white ball. It was red ball cricket. And I remember Rahul Dravid, I think, getting 100, and Sachin Tendulkar getting 100, and like they were playing in Hyderabad and all of that, and it was proper red ball cricket, where just one red ball, not even two red ball, one red ball, and the ball gets soft, it would reverse. It would like after 30 second over, 34th over, it would like it do everything. You needed an absolute like you needed to be like a proper technically sound cricketer to even score runs in one day cricket.
Yeah, it was completely different, and it's why we really have anchors, because you needed anchors in that era. Because if you're going up against Dennis Lillee or Richard Hadley or Malcolm Marshall, like you actually legitimately have to bat properly at that point. And Jeff Marsh and Desmond Haynes kind of invent that role. I think it was probably Desmond Haynes starts it, and then Jeff Marsh becomes the first anchor who doesn't really make any runs in Test cricket, if that makes sense. But a lot of it comes on the
One
back
day
of
cricket, you mean?
Hey.
One day cricket, you mean?
Well, no. What I'm saying is Desmond Haynes was great anyway. He was going to be successful regardless. Whereas Jeff Marsh, if you look, I don't think Jeff Marsh, I think Mitchell Marsh might average more than Jeff Marsh, despite the fact that he's not around.
For sure.
Right, like Jeff Marsh was a really struggling Test player, but in one day cricket, Australia would just be like, bat 45 overs. Right, that was literally his job, was to bat as long as possible, and then everyone was attacking around him.
Funnily enough, I think if you remember, Sanat Jayasuriya and Shahid Afridi, when they got their fastest hundreds, were actually in red ball one day cricket, right?
I would have thought that Shahid Afridi did it in Kenya, so I would have thought that would have been white ball cricket.
No, when he was 14 years old.
Yeah, he's in Kenya.
100. Yeah, but he didn't. I think it was red ball cricket.
Okay, just before we get there, because I can look that up. But Commonwealth Games in 1998, when South Africa win their first ever trophy of any kind. Oh, actually, maybe it wasn't their first trophy. They might have already won the Champions Trophy by then.
Champions Trophy was in 2009. No, it's 2000, right? Or 99, 2000, right?
No, 98. So 98, they win 2 trophies that year. They won the Commonwealth Games and the Champions. I only know this because I looked it up the other day. But the Commonwealth Games in Malaysia, that was in whites. So that tells you how late it was. I don't know, what year was Shahid Afridi's his fastest 100?
96, 97?
Yeah, I think you're right. Fastest ODI. Can I tell you my favorite story about that? So I have, as you would not, you would know, I've gone back and looked at that innings quite a few times before. When he comes out to bat, Robbie, he used to say the ages of the player when they came out to bat.
Yeah, they did.
What
they
age?
They announced it. They actually announced it.
Yep. You're right. It was in whites. 100%. What age do you think Shahid Afridi's? It said on the screen of Shahid Afridi when he came out to bat in that innings.
14.
Nope.
16.
Nope.
No, don't tell me 12 or some shit like that.
21.
What?
I think it was his real age. I think they accidentally put his real age on the screen for a moment.
No.
I'm sure.
Really?
I'm positive I've tweeted this before, so someone would have to go through my old tweets. But I remember watching the game back, and it comes up on the screen of Shahid Afridi, 21. And then somehow during that innings, he scored so quickly that he lost like 5 years of his life, Robbie. He traveled back in time. He's like Superman. He changed the directional pull of the planet. But yeah, so no. So there you go. So you're right, and Sanath might be the same. I'd have to go back and find his one as well. But yeah, so it wasn't that common. It was a lot of it was England. I would have thought in Kenya they would have used coloured clothing, by the way. So I'm not sure why they didn't. But it was a very different game, and I don't think we have stats on whether the ball was red or whether the ball was white. It would be interesting to see if there were some players who did really well against one and not the other. In that era when they were playing, because they're different skills, right?
They're completely different skills. I remember playing like red ball one day cricket even domestically till 2005 or 6. I think the last time I played. Wow,
that late.
Yeah, bro. I remember playing in 2006-7. We had India 8 in 7 actually. In 7, before I went to England for the NatWest series, I was playing an A series in Kenya and Zimbabwe, and we played the entire series in red ball. Right?
Wow.
And so even the one days were played in red ball, and so basically you grew up playing one day cricket in red ball, and then it's like you only played with the white ball at the highest level, or one round
which
below
is nuts, right? Like, I mean, you're really good at this thing, and then you go up and you play a completely different form of cricket when you get to the other side. It really,
Yeah.
especially for, I would say the biggest problem would be opening bowlers and opening batters, right? Because that's where the biggest change is. Because the white ball
Yeah.
swings more and then stops. And,
Yeah.
remember in the old days when people couldn't control the white ball at all because they wouldn't bowl with it
Yeah.
that much. And like, and you'd see these big hooping outswingers going everywhere, missing the pitch.
So many times, right? And you actually
Yeah.
saw that even with the red ball. So much so that some bowlers wanted to get hit for a couple of boundaries so the ball will get scuffed up. So then they can manage and maintain the ball and keep shine on one side of the ball, right? And then they would manage that ball, and then so they can keep the ball going for as much as possible till the spinners came on. Because once the spinners came on with the red ball, then you were gone. Like you couldn't maintain the shine, and you would slowly let the ball to go into that place where both sides of the ball are scuffed up, and you could start reversing the ball by making one side of the ball heavy. And then when you made it heavy with sweat and saliva, it actually became soft. So it just became like mush, the ball. So as batters, you had to figure out ways to actually get the umpires to change the ball for you. And
Go.
sometimes the umpires were unrelenting. They just wouldn't.
All right, I've got something for you that we're going to put up, which is, I think I want to explain how much dew can change a cricket game based on the game that we saw yesterday. So New Zealand who was it? South Africa. South Africa fell to what, 27 for 3 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I contacted all my friends and I said, bet on South Africa. And they were like, are you mad? And I was like, no, because there's a lot of dew here. This isn't like a normal amount of dew. So the rush line win percentage had South Africa at that stage at a 2% chance of winning. And by the end, that was it. That was when they were 27 for 3 or whatever it was. And India was swinging the ball everywhere. Think about what happens in the rest of the game. If De Zorzi doesn't get out, I actually think they would have given this a really, really good attempt. In fact, De Zorzi and Marco Jansen probably got out at times when South Africa could have become favourites in this game. Right, they could have actually pushed to get ahead. And even with all the wickets that South Africa kept losing, they still got it down to what, 40 needed of 26 or 24? No, 38 of 24. I've got it written in front of me. I don't know why I'm trying to remember these things. It's literally written in front of me. It just shows you how much dew can play a part in changing a game. And suddenly I was watching this incredible Indian bowling attack going, I don't know what they do here, right? Like it really did swing that game around so violently, didn't it?
It did actually, and I think when it's hard to stop, like for the guys like for the guys like Jansen, who they come in and they've started going, and then as soon as they start going, things are working for you, and you've suddenly found yourself in a place where you're striking at 200, and you're scoring a whole bunch of runs, and you don't know how to take the foot off the pedal because you still need to get that many runs, and you don't have wickets, so you have to keep going. And I'm telling you, if he had delayed that shot by half a second, he would have caught it in the middle of that bat and the ball would have gone, right? Because he was smashing the ball. Yeah. It hit the toe end of his bat and still went, like when I say toe end, like literally here, right? And it still went the distance. And you got to give it to the South African side that they kept, their foot on the accelerator despite not having wickets in hand, and they put pressure on the Indian bowlers right to the end.
If I was going to, a friend of mine was watching this game, and he's quite smart. Hello, Jake, if you're watching. But he was basically saying that he thought the biggest issue that South Africa had is they kept going for sixes on a wicket where there was plenty of fours. And they probably could have kept their wickets a little bit more intact if they hadn't, gone for as many sixes. But I think both teams hit a lot of sixes in this game, so I understand why the teams were trying to do it. But I thought it was fascinating. Before we get to the Travis Head innings, we're going to have our first ever trivia segment on this show. Okay. And Robbie, it's very important that Robbie didn't know this was coming at all, and that I'm completely, as always, throwing Robbie 100% under the bus with a new show that we like to call
the show should be called Robbie Under the Bus.
Our new show, or our new segment, is called Cricketer or Serial Killer. I have found 3 different cricketers or serial killers or humans. There could be either. And it's up to Robbie to work through this and tell me whether he thinks he is looking at a cricketer or a serial killer. Robbie, this is our first one. It's been on the screen for several seconds. Don't do it like a Face ID or something. I don't know. Are you not using your phone to do something dodgy?
I can't. I don't have the angles. I have to do this. It's not working.
Is this a cricketer or a serial killer?
For the life of me, I can't. I'm not able to see if I recognize this guy.
Yeah, I tried to get cricketers that I hoped I mean, you've actually you do know a little bit about history and stuff, so you might pick up some of the serial killers, or cricketers. Sorry, I should say. Hopefully, you pick up more of the cricketers.
I think
But
it's better to make an error on the side of cricketers than the side of serial killers.
But I tried to pick people that I thought had a look that could have gone in either direction. So like I did try to, I have made this hard. I thought this first round, and we will do future rounds, of course. I thought this first round was a little bit easier, but apparently not, because you still haven't given an answer.
Well, I'm just going to say cricketer. Even though he's got really cold eyes, I'm going to say cricketer.
He does have cold eyes. In fact, every single photo of this guy, and he's a good-looking guy. Like, I'm not having a go
Yeah, he's
the
not
way he
bad
looks,
looking,
but
yeah.
every single photo I found of this human being, he looks like a serial killer. But it is, in fact, Herbert Sutcliffe, one of the few people to average 60 in Test cricket, just an absolute gun player. But I promise you, Robbie, I could show you 15 photos of him, and you would, even if I told you it was Herbert Sutcliffe, you would still be like, but is it possible he also killed people at the same time? He just has even when he's smiling, he does it in this sort of, oh my God, is he about to gut me kind of way.
His eyes, man.
His eyes. It's his eyes. He's just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, number 2, if we could, in this. Cricketer or serial killer?
Why does he look like what's his name? Yeah, the Australian actor. Oh my gosh, what's his name?
Australian actor?
Yeah, like the guy who played Wolverine, bro.
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. Yeah, why does he look like
This
Hugh
is
Jackman
Hugh
from the
Jackman's
1910s?
great-grandfather who was a serial killer. No, it's not.
Doesn't he look like Hugh Jackman?
I
was
could
like
get
an
that. I would never have thought of that on my own, but I could, now that you've pointed it out, I could see that. I could see that.
Cricketer, bro. Cricketer. I can't remember what his name is, but he's certainly a cricketer.
You know he's a cricketer?
I think he's a cricketer.
Oh, look at this. This is Fred Spofforth, the Demon, who was probably the first great fast bowler from Australia who set up the Ashes and basically set up international cricket. Look,
Yeah,
this is too
he's
easy.
got some connection to Hugh Jackman, bro. Not Hugh
Also,
Jackman.
they're both from New South Wales, I think.
Yeah.
Although I think
Looks so similar. Look at that.
I think Spofforth grew up he was born in Yorkshire and then moved to Australia. Or he was certainly born in England. Anyway, the next one, Rakshit. Is this a cricketer or is this a serial killer?
Serial killer.
Oh,
Serial killer.
you've got 3 from 3. This is so annoying. I told you this round was too easy. Next time I'm going to go a lot harder.
Who's this guy, though?
This is Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, who is an American con artist and serial killer in the 1890s. He was known as the Beast of Chicago or the Devil in the White City. And I had this whole thing about how, like, we had the demon Spofforth and we had the Devil of White City, but you ruined it by getting them both right. So there we go. The first ever attempt here
I ruined it. Dude, I'm glad I got this right.
Now, we will be bringing this back because there is an awful lot of cricketers who could pass as serial killers and a lot of serial killers who could pass as cricketers as well.
Rakshit, remind me, I got to do this against him, right? It's like he's finding new ways for me to get trolled by people. What the fuck?
Robbie under the bus. Our latest segment of Robbie under the bus. So just the other thing that we wanted to talk about today was the Travis Head innings from the last Test match that I was working on the video the last time we were chatting about this, so you didn't actually have a chance of having a look at it. So the video, did you get a chance? I know I sent it to you last night. Did you get a chance?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, immediately after we spoke, I actually watched it, and yeah, as in the fact that they started only with 2 slips, I think was such a grave error because you are sending the wrong message to the batter, right? Especially when you're 30 for 3, you're sending the absolute wrong message to the batter where you're telling him that, hey, you know what? We're reluctant against you. We don't feel confident against you. And I think
it's also interesting because, we are in a world where teams have more extravagant plans against players than ever before, right? You know, we have so much analysis that we can go through, we can try everything else, but he does nick, right? Travis Head does actually nick the ball,
especially if the ball swings.
Yeah, really early, he's a nicker, right? Later on, it's hard to get him out caught in slips only because he hits the ball so hard that if he gets anything on it, it flies over the top. And I remember having
Because
this
he doesn't
argument.
get behind the line, right? Initially, he
Yeah,
gets more back and away. So because he gets back and away, that outside his off stump or outside the outside edge of his bat is always exposed in that initial bit till he gets his eye in. The minute he gets his eye in, he's a very different player. I think he
exactly.
approaches batting very differently.
And that's why I think this field is wrong, right? And so
Yeah,
the other thing I would say with him is he also pushes his hands
he
probably
does.
harder than he needs to early on. But I
You
remember having
would,
this
right? Think
argument.
about it. If you're going to go back and away in your initial movement, you are going to prod at the ball. It's going to happen.
No, of course, of course. I had
Yeah.
this argument with someone in cricket. I think it might have been the last time he played the Ashes, or it might have been against India or when he made the 100. And this guy was like, "Oh, Travis Head, he gets so lucky he got an edge through first slip." And I was like, "Yeah, he got an edge through first slip because India had taken the first slip out because he was smashing them, right? Like he earns that luck in a way that a normal batter won't. If a normal batter would have the first slip, they might still get dropped, but they wouldn't have they would have the fielder there. And so there is an element, I think, of Travis Head sort of spooking teams a little bit. Whereas I think for the first 10 or 15 balls, he was 16 off 20 in this knock, Robbie, and
Correct. Yeah.
he had one ball that he hit for 4, and that was a half volley on leg stump. Right? He
Yeah.
was not attacking. He was not slogging. He was not doing anything. So why would you bowl differently to him at that point? Right? I think you really need to. And this is the other thing I wanted to talk about is this is, you can see this is slide 2's come up now, where essentially they're bowling, this is Gus Atkinson mostly, bowling around the wicket, back of a length into the pitch. And you can see that they did it quite a bit. This is Stokes doing it as well. They were trying to get into him and cramping him, right? And eventually, I think this might actually be the one that Head hits to mid wicket or mid on wherever he was caught in that first inning.
Yeah. Wide mid on in the first innings.
And if you go back to Atkinson actually hits him on the thigh pad a couple of times, and he gets, I think, at least 2 leading edges. One maybe that goes short of the fielder at point, I want to say, and the other one goes over point's head or over gully's head. And so they had even though we would disagree with their slips fielding, they did actually have an idea of what to do against him. And now I want to go through what they do in the second innings, right? So this is the innings that matters, of course, because this is where he makes his runs. Jofra bowls 2 balls in a row down the leg side on this length. And straight away, I think it was Foxdale doing the world feed, and they put up a thing going, how often Travis Head gets caught down the leg side when you bowl this delivery. So my theory is that this was intentional, Robbie, right? That they are trying to do this because they think he goes out this way. Now, you and I both know that he does have a bit of a weakness when you bowl at his hip, and he gets his hands get a bit in the way, and sometimes he falls over, and he gets in. He can hit the ball off his to short leg. There's many different ways to get him out here, but he's come out as a surprise opener, Robbie. Why are you not trying to nick him off in the cordon? Why are you starting with this theory?
It makes sense, right? When you look at his setup and you look at the way he starts any innings of his, he backs away. So he's obviously, when you're backing away and you hit a certain length into the hips, you're going to find it difficult. Devin Conway, for instance, right? You bowl anything on his hips, he's going to get strapped on it on the pads so often because he's not great off the hips, because his technique, the way he picks up his bat and the way he sets himself up to play each ball, makes him miss a huge percentage of balls on his hips. So with the way he sets himself up here, Travis Head, there are 2 areas where you can get him out initially, right? Obviously, maybe because he backs away in his setup, he obviously likes to have to play the ball on the offside, right? So because his hands may not be coming around the ball enough or around his body enough to play that ball well. Right? It could be with the way he's holding the bat. We'll have to look at his bat and decipher it. But the way he holds his bat and his setup a little bit more keenly to observe it. And so obviously that's why his hands probably go quickly through his outside of his body, which is why he gets caught behind down the leg side quite a bit. But I agree with you. That's one weakness. Why target that one weakness when there's a more apparent one at the start of his innings available for you outside the off stump, where you just don't have to try too much. You just have to hit the right areas, pitch the ball up, and just try and swing it between third and fourth stump, right? And then more often than not, he's going to prod at it. Like he can't help himself because he's backing away anyway, and he wants to protect his off stump, so he's going to push at that ball,
Yeah.
and they
So
haven't exposed that.
So I thought this was a fascinating way to start. Then it takes them, it's the 10th ball when they finally go around the wicket into the pitch. Some of this is just because Jofra Archer didn't bowl to him as much early on. But you see the first time Atkinson bowls to him, just look at the width on this ball. Like it's really, really wide. So not only are they coming up with the plan that they used in the first innings, Atkinson gets it wrong here. And this is obviously, by the time they get it right, he's faced 11 balls. Like
This is where you want to bowl, right?
Yeah, this is the ball that you wanted. This is what Atkinson was trying to bowl
away
here.
from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it takes them a while. So we get that. So they do it twice in a row and they get him into a good position. And then Atkinson just tosses up a full wide one.
I don't think this is Atkinson. I think this is Cast.
Sorry, Cast. Oh, this is...
Cast.
Sorry, you're right. It is... Oh my God. I've got the... This is when Carlson would come on. So that first spell, right?
Yeah.
So you can see that Cast comes on really, really early. And by this stage, Head has got away. And then Cast and Wood. Cast goes wide to Travis Head, which I don't understand. And Wood tries the bouncer balls. You can see here, this one was hit for 6, right?
Yeah.
And then Wood comes around the wicket and he bowls straight and full to him again, or straight. And then Stokes comes on and bowls everything. They're just cycling through plans so quickly here that by the time, this is when Head starts to attack. And he's already on 78, Robbie.
Yeah.
Before that, all he's doing is putting away wide balls, over pitch deliveries, short balls. He's not even playing like Head is at this point. And so someone asked me this question. I thought it was fascinating. I'll throw it to you as well, which is, we have a go at England because essentially they have one plan when batting, right? But we don't have a go at them when they bowl, when what they basically do when they bowl is they come up with a plan for about a minute and a half. And if that doesn't work, they go to the next one and to the next one, right? Now, you and I talked about this during the last summer when India were playing. On flat pitches, it kind of makes a bit more sense because on a flat pitch, what Stokes is doing to you is he's saying you can't ever feel comfortable here because we are just going to keep changing this over and over again. You're never going to feel comfortable. But this was not a flat pitch. There was plenty of life in this surface. So why are they changing so many different tactics? Why are they trying all these different things?
Like honestly, if in England you perceived and you felt like Stokes' captaincy was absolute genius, in this last Test match it felt like an absolute dud. To be very honest, it just felt like, why is he making so many changes when there's so much of a devil in the wicket anyway? Right? You just want to hit the right areas. You don't want to be making too many changes. It's uncomfortable enough as it is. But if you keep trying different things and they suddenly start working for the batter because you're not trying to expose one thing, and because the beauty about wickets like this, Chair, is that the first innings on day one is the best time to bat. Because anytime after that, because in these kind of wickets, what's going to happen is on day one, it's going to be moist and a little soft, right? There are going to be dents that fall on that are created on this wicket, and those dents over the first and second day become hard, and those dents become the most dangerous part of batting on that wicket. Because once those dents get hard, and on Australian conditions they get hard, then there's no way that they're getting flattening out again, right? So you could, and if they break up as well, if the wicket starts opening up as well, especially like in Perth, which we all know it does. Obviously, it wasn't as hot enough for that to happen, but and the game obviously just didn't go on for too many days after that. But then it becomes, you just have to hit those dents often enough for the batter to feel uncomfortable and make an error, right? England, and I think Ben Stokes depended a lot more on being reactive to what was happening and making those changes every so often. And literally every third over, it felt like there was a new plan. When you didn't
Sometimes
need a
in
new
the same
plan, all
over.
you needed to do is, you just needed to just set a field and bowl to that field. And I think it got so confusing after a point that I think after a point, even the bowlers didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
And they seemed absolutely hapless at the end.
And, you know, I think they came in and they thought, we'll try and get him out down leg side. Then we'll try and nick him off. But very briefly did they try that. Then they tried the around the wicket thing, and Atkinson couldn't do it. And then by the time Carson Wood come on, there's no discernible plan, right? Like
Yeah.
if it's either Carson Wood couldn't do what was asked, or they asked them to do random things that don't make any sense. And when Stokes comes on, I would say Stokes is a bowler who, in that sort of Ian Botham style, and maybe even Zahir Khan style of like, I'm going to try a different thing every couple of balls, right? Like I'm going to do it. That is perfect for a flat wicket, right? And it worked for him in the first innings, to be fair. Again, he just needed to find a spot that Head was struggling. And so you get to this point in the innings.
When did he come to bowl in the first innings as well? He came more towards the back end of in the first
Oh,
innings.
yeah,
right?
They were
He literally got 5
78
wickets
for 4, maybe?
Yeah. So by then, they already batted post-lunch, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah. They'd been batting for a while, yeah. No, it wasn't lunch. It would have been tea when he came on, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
England
So by then, those dents are have also dried up a little bit. They've also formed there. So all he's doing is hitting good areas. If you look at that first innings, he's not trying too many things. He's just hitting good areas, and he's reaping those rewards almost immediately, right? And I think one of the things you see with Ben Stokes is that he's always trying to think out of the box. And sometimes in England, you're forced to do so because of the flatness of the wickets that are available there. Or that they played on, especially in the summer when you saw the India England series, it felt like he had to keep inventing some new strategy up every so often to put that seed of doubt in Indian batters' minds. And it felt like even on a wicket that he absolutely didn't need to do anything, but just stick to his guns and be disciplined. It was almost like it was force of habit to try something new, to try and create something where you didn't need to create it.
I 100% agree. And I think that it's a fascinating one of, in one side, they won't change their theories. On the other side, all they do is change their theories. And it goes through. And we get to the point where once Head starts doing this, like they're gone, right? Like look at how much he's moving around the crease at this point. Here, he gets...
I swear, bro.
This is a normal shot, but this freaks them out so much that the next one, he gets to play it from here. And the I think it's the next ball, isn't it? What is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He played one ball from inside the line of the crease, one ball from completely backing away. So much so that Labuschagne started doing this, right? I'd rather say Labuskagne, but he started doing that as well.
Yeah.
He just started moving all around, right? I remember it's like he backed away and hit one like that, straight down the ground for 4.
Yeah. It's just I think the whole thing is just fascinating. The way that they go about they go about things, but it's a brilliant innings by Head. But it's not, for me. It's not that he played a brilliant innings on its own. All the other innings he'd played before this, we've talked before about Verinder Sehwag and Viv Richards, and you go back and you can see similar patterns with those sorts of players as well, where the opposition just is not, they're not actually playing this innings, they're playing like I think you said last week, they're playing like the reputation and everything else, and it's like, that's fine, but you have a wicket where Scott Boland was just seaming the ball sideways. Just try and get your bowlers to seam. I know no one's going to get as much seam movement as Scott Boland because he just gets more than other people, right? But Atkinson and Jofra can still get the ball to seam around. So why would you not be looking at that as an option?
For me, also, I think the fact that they have none of the fast bowlers, right? I don't think any of the fast bowlers in that innings against Travis Head bowled a slow ball outside the off stump. Like, even when he was backing away, you're seeing him back away. How difficult is just kind of roll your fingers over the ball slowly, and you have this field all spread out. He's anyway going hell for leather. Just toss the ball outside the off stump. Not one bowler did that.
No. Very interesting. Last thing we're going to talk about just with the Ashes is that Joe Root came out and said the pink ball seems unnecessary for the Ashes. I mean, he could argue they should just make the pink ball better, but that's a different conversation. And Travis Head said, red, pink, white, I don't care. Travis Head is, it should be pointed out, one of the greatest pink ball batters. He might be the greatest pink ball batter we've ever had. And I'm pretty sure Joe Root doesn't pick the pink ball up as well as he does the white or the red ball.
Most people don't.
Yeah.
Most people don't. Because it's.
Did you play any games with pink balls?
Yeah, I did. In Indian conditions is very different, right? The pink balls, like you want to play on seaming conditions. and you want to play with a ball that will sustain lacquer on the ball for a period of time for it to become interesting. When we played with it, when it was new, it was doing so much,
Yeah.
but the minute it got slightly old and we were able to get past that period, then it became so flat, like it became so easy to score runs. And obviously with the eyes, right, we're so used to capturing a red ball or a white ball. So when you're playing with a pink ball, it's almost like it's too bright for you. You want to dull the brightness down.
Mm.
And so I can relate with the fact that um, I can relate with the fact that Joe Root is probably finding it hard to pick the pink ball, right? It can happen. Like I found it hard to pick the white ball in southern hemisphere conditions.
Yep.
Right? When we went below the equator, because the sun hits the eyes very differently, and
Mm.
the way you capture the ball is sometimes it's just too bright. It takes a while for the eyes to adjust into picking the ball inside the helmet without sunglasses. And so I only realized the solution for it for me very recently, maybe a couple of years ago. But even though I picked it up, I grew up in an era where wearing sunglasses in India itself was frowned upon if you were playing cricket.
Sorry, what now?
Yeah. Growing up, if you wore sunglasses while you were fielding, even in first class cricket, it was frowned upon.
Because
It felt we were perceived as being arrogant. Uh,
okay.
no, seriously,
I
it's
mean,
it's a very real thing.
Dean Jones starts wearing sunglasses in what? 80, to be fair, Dean Jones was always perceived as being arrogant and would have been without the sunglasses.
So it was very hard. See, the only time you had rite of passage or the authority to wear sunglasses if you played international cricket, right? And I'm serious. This is I kid you not. This is the India we grew up in, and in that was the
To be
culture that was
fair,
there.
as I said, when Dean Jones first started wearing sunglasses, there was a big. I think he was the first player to use them regularly, anyway, and there was a big
Now
stink
imagine
that was
wearing
made. Yeah.
sunglasses while you're batting.
So I think now, what's
If
his
this
name?
just wearing it for fielding was frowned upon,
Yeah.
that's the era I grew up in.
Is it? Wasn't
Imagine
there?
you wearing sunglasses while batting.
Was it Asanka Gurusinghe, the Sri Lankan number 3? I reckon he wore sunglasses
Yeah,
when he was batting. I
when he's
can't think
batting.
of many other guys who ever did.
See, in the when you're playing around the equator, the sun isn't as harsh,
No.
right? For some reason, it's a lot, and that's why cricket, even while viewed on television, when you're playing in the subcontinent, views very differently versus when you play away from the equator.
Yep.
Because that's why when you watch cricket on television, that's when it's played in Australia or New Zealand or England or South Africa, it's so much more different
Yeah, it's brighter.
because it's so much brighter, right? And it's actually that much brighter on the ground as well. So I find it so much easier to bat with sunglasses. So if there's any day game right now, I like whatever cricket I'm playing, right? I just throw the sunglasses on because it's just so much more easier to watch the ball, right? It's so much I can track the ball so much more because in Australia, one of the things I struggled with in day games was actually getting my eyes adjusted to the brightness that was there. It just felt so much more comfortable fielding with sunglasses there because here I can see the ball clearly right now. I just couldn't without.
I don't wear sunglasses much in my life. I'm not really a sunglasses guy. If I ever lose my eyesight, I worry about glasses. I don't need to add glasses to my life.
If
But
you
like
lived in
Perth,
Australia, as an adult, like you wouldn't have survived it. You probably have a skin cancer by now, and
No,
because you're so forgetful, dude. You are
Yeah.
so forgetful about everything else but cricket.
exactly. But in Perth is one of the places that I will like when I'm touring Australia. Even now, I will take a pair of sunglasses for Perth because it is
Yeah.
so much. And Adelaide a little bit, but Perth is the one where I just feel like it feels like the sun is like at your eyeballs the whole
Yes, it's like in
time.
here,
And
yeah.
and also the ground is so hard. It feels like the sun is rebounding off the ground
Yeah.
back up at you and everything
Yeah.
else. Producer Ruckshit has asked, is it not dangerous to bat with sunglasses?
Well, not if you're wearing it inside the helmet. It's fine. The only thing you're really worried about is if your sweat goes onto the lenses of the glass, and then you have to like take it off and wipe it off, and it's a huge pain in the
I'm
ass
assuming
to
they're
do that.
shatterproof.
No, they're not shatterproof. None of the
Oh, okay.
sunglasses are shatterproof. But there's like the gap between the helmets today are very, very like minimal. There's no way a ball can go in
Yeah, well, ask your
unless
friend
it's.
about that when he did it to Stuart Broad. He didn't have much of a gap.
But again, back then, when did that happen to Stuart? It was, easily
2014, I want to say.
yeah, pre 2015 for sure, because the helmet regulations didn't come in till post 2014 2015.
Yeah.
It was after Phil Hughes when the helmet regulations came in. So once that came in, you can see every time ball gets stuck there is because there's no way that gap's only that much right now. So even if a ball comes at 150 clicks an hour, it won't go in unless it's
Yeah.
something that there's a default or defect in the helmet.
We're not going to do it today because we're an hour in, but one day I will take you through the history of helmets. And it's fascinating what was actually going on and how we ended up with the helmet that we did. And, you know, there are all these different things. Like, so the reason they look the way they do and act the way they do is because of equestrian. Really? That was, yeah, it's so fascinating because it was just, there was no helmet manufacturers. So whoever was going to make them was making them in the style that they had at the time. So it's actually quite a fascinating one, but we'll get to that another day. But
I've never understood the baseball helmets though, because they seem more like a face guard than a helmet. And I've seen Dinesh Karthik wear it, and I've tried it on where he wears it, but it's genuinely just a hard cushion that sits on your face. So even if you get hit with it,
oh, you're talking about the catches one.
Face guard. Yeah, the catches. It's almost like a mask.
It is more of a mask. Dinesh Karthik or Peter McGlashan. There's a couple of wicketkeepers who've tried them before, haven't they? I've done a little bit of wicket keeping. I don't think I've ever wicket kept with one of those on, but I think I'd prefer that to a batting helmet. I think a batting helmet I'd feel really uncomfortable keeping with.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's too close to your face. So if the thing is, you catch it, maybe because we're so used to a cricket helmet and haven't grown up with a face guard before. So maybe that's why.
We got some super chats coming in. Andy says, the show with Jimenez and Ash was awesome. Hope to see more in the future. What have you guys made of Vibav's progress? Is he far from a T20 caller? There's a lot of players that they could call up at the moment.
Easily right now, to be very honest. I got to say, that show was amazing, by the way. I watched it and I was like, hey, these guys aren't saying anything different that we're saying on KimAppa, but just with a lot more stats. I just think that I think your audience loves like stats, and I think that generally there's a love for deep diving into the numbers part of it, and it's fun.
But this show is supposed to be different than everything else.
Correct.
Also, you've got to remember that
I think people love going after me as well.
Obviously, that's why you're on the show. But you've also got to remember that people have been asking for me and Ash to do something together for a decade. Right, like from the minute they realized what he was like and what I was like this has been building for a very long time. And I read
some of the comments and I'm like, and more than a few times, like, oh, this is orgasmic. The number of orgasmic comments that were there in those comment section was just phenomenal.
Siddharth also liked the chat. And wait, Robbie. And
yeah. Go for it. I'm sure there are 10 more.
No, it was great. It was it's
because
one of those
like
things.
What do you guys like? Predominantly, what did you all say in that chat? Right, you're talking about how it should be more about the players taking a little bit more ownership. What is the actual problem with that? We spoke about say for example, Washi just bowling 500 overs before he played. He's come in as a bowler versus Ashwin, who's bowled 2,500 overs before he actually played international cricket consistently, right? Test cricket consistently. So giving the bowlers the time in the middle for them to become more of their own and becoming more result producing athletes, right? Even Kuldeep Yadav, for that matter. I remember we speaking about it where we said, hey, Kuldeep is just started playing. Like he's been in the scene since 2017, but how much cricket has he actually played?
Yeah. Well, he had that period. Do you remember where he didn't play any? I remember doing a video on it once.
Absolutely none.
He just wasn't playing cricket. He was touring with India, but not even playing touring games. And
for years, for almost 2 or 3 or 4 years.
It was a long time, right?
Yeah, and I think since 2018-19 to 2023-24, he almost barely played any. As in, we should pull out the stats. I could be off the mark here, but he barely played any Test cricket. just touring with the side.
I don't think he played much cricket for long periods of time there. So yeah,
White ball T20 he did.
he played a
He
little
did.
bit. Didn't he miss a IPL season though as well?
He did. He did.
Do you know what I
missed it.
mean?
It
That's
was
what I mean.
an
If you go
injury.
back, I won't bring them up now, but I'm pretty sure there was a period of time where he just didn't play much cricket because I feel like I've written about it before. Laughing at nothing says,
Also,
oh,
but
nothing.
let me
Nothing says
close
no
my
one.
thought with
Nothing.
yeah.
No, you go. Go.
So
Rob.
with Kuldeep as well, people are saying, okay, he's not that effective in the second innings, or he's not that effective after the first innings, is because the kid isn't used to playing Test cricket. He hasn't. His body is not used to sustaining bowling 40 overs in a Test match, or more than 25 overs in a Test match. You give him a year doing this, his body gets used to this, conditioned to this. You'll see him bowling with the same effectiveness that you see him bowling in the first 20 overs, 15 overs of a Test match. It's time spent here, right?
Yeah. No, no,
Jumping on.
No, there's lots of different things when it comes to that sort of stuff, but that's true. Is it sad? Sorry, laughing at nothing says, is it sad that BCCI does not stream record all domestic matches? Missed Abhishek Sharma smashing 148 in 50 balls in the smat, and the team getting to 300 plus. How is that the case? Like every English club game is now streamed. How are the BCCI not streaming everything?
I don't know, but we should actually go and ask them for streaming rights and put it up on our channel.
Look at you. People don't realize that like
And
that's
then
all
we'll do the broadcasting for it.
Robbie is just like in perpetual entrepreneurial mode at all times in his life. And he just looked at that question and went, when can I make money off this? Talking about...
Not make money of it, but like make it more entertaining. Like we can actually imagine doing just you, me, and Rakshit, and maybe a couple of other guys, and maybe an Ashwin or someone just talking about just commentating on the cricket that we're watching, like doing a live watch along. That'd be so much fun.
It would certainly be something. And yes, I agree. Siddharth says, my favorite part about the whole KimAppa is the startup stage IPL talk. Can we hammer it into the IPL and make that change and just get rid of the auction? So one of the funny things about doing podcasts with Ashwin and Robbie is that like very rarely I will get aggregated. Happens every now and again, especially if you're doing something on TalkSport or Cricinfo, you get aggregated a little bit. Jared Kimber said blah, blah, blah. But every single podcast that you do with a cricketer gets aggregated, right? And usually they're kind of useless. But this one, I saw a lot of news articles about the fact that this is what we were talking about, that the IPL needs to move on. And I think this is something that I hope people really do take seriously, because I've been saying this for almost a decade, that it is stuck still in the Lalit Modi model. And this is not what it should be anymore. It should have moved well beyond that by now.
Yeah, because I think the league itself is a pioneer, right? And it's actually taking cricket forward, right? And you want the league to take cricket forward in a constructive way, where you look at it even from a business point of view, and you can take lessons out of it, right? How you transition from the model that it was to what it is and what it can be in the future. Because you gotta, like, on some level, yes, you gotta stick to what's working for you. So you know that this model will work for you for perpetuity, right? Unless there's a newer version of this that comes up where it's able to bring in that kind of volume of money and that volume of and that kind of entertainment, and get that mishmash done perfectly, and then take it down, right? And that's the possibilities of that happening are extremely, extremely slim, right? Almost impossible. So when you're sitting in such a sweet spot, you have the opportunity and the privilege, I think, to innovate the game, and you've earned it.
Yeah.
Right? Why not innovate it in a way which betters the game, not just for the business side of things, but for the people who actually make the game what it is, for the players, for the stakeholders of this league, right? And the biggest stakeholders of this league are the players and the franchises, right? So you make it work for them, and then you build it out into a system where it is like all the owners of the franchises feel like we got a chance every year, right? There are some franchises that if they've had a bad auction, they have to reinvent themselves in the mini auction with almost no players, and you have to be extremely lucky. But if you actually create a system where there is a draft and that every team gets a favorable chance every third season or every second season to build out a squad to be competitive enough to make the league even more competitive, right? Dude, you're sitting on mountains of gold that you will reap in perpetuity,
No, I
even
agree.
from a business standpoint.
I agree. Here's a question for you. Any real benefits to stickers under Smith's eyes? Magesh asks. So, for those who don't know, if you remember, Shivnarine Chandrapal used to use the stickers that the NFL players use under his eyes.
Yeah.
And Steve Smith is trying them in the T20 thingy situation.
And it just goes back to what we were talking about, right? Just to be able to sight the ball better.
Yeah. Do you think that works? Did you ever put
Some
tape
degree.
under your eyes?
I've tried everything. And so back when we were playing, we wouldn't get tapes, right? So what we would do, I just put sunscreen, just put like a lot of sunscreen here, just as a line, just to see if it could absorb any of the light while I'm watching the ball.
I now realize why I was bad at cricket. I never put anything on my face.
Yeah.
Vashak says, all focus is on Roko, but Hardik's clutch and balance is what makes India World Cup competitors. Without him, we drop a level. South Africa look dangerous. Yeah, we're a long way away from the World Cup, though, at the moment. I wouldn't be... Yeah. I'm not starting my, where are you going in the World Cup situation? But yeah, India has a very good side, and Hardik plays a big part in that.
Yeah, I think the whole World Cup conversation will happen after the T20 World Cup that happens in Feb next year. That narrative will pick up after that.
Oasis says VK's innings was a true testament of ODI pacing. Yep, from 2015.
No shit. That was actually
2015 pacing.
His template is so clear, right? His template is so like it's cut and dry. You know, like, okay, this is what you're going to get from him. He knows how to pace the innings. And now he's added that whole partnership thing into his template right now, which just makes him seem so much more dangerous.
Andy says, how would you separate Warne and Murali across formats? Who is the better peak in career, force of personality aside? If you had to pick one of them, who do you pick?
I love both of them, man. It's so hard to pick between these two. Ask me to pick between any two other bowlers, it's probably a lot more easier to do than these two.
I think this is one of the hardest questions in the world. Not one of the hardest questions in the world, one of the hardest questions in the cricket world, because they are very skillful at very different things. Murali, obviously... Murali's ability to get huge amounts of wickets over a long period of time is incredible, but everything that Sri Lanka did was favouring Murali. Whereas there was a period of Warne's career where he was like the backup to the seam bowlers, right? When Steve Waugh sort of takes over and is no longer frontline.
Yeah.
So you have, they're not even comparable in role definition, right? Early Warne was, because at that stage Australia was like, building their side around him. But afterwards, once McGrath sort of takes over and you've got Gillespie and Lee and Fleming, all those guys coming through, they don't build their side around Shane Warne anymore. So they're not even comparable in that way. I'm pretty sure.
No wonder Shane Warne didn't like Steve Waugh, because when he grew up, he was almost like they were building their bowling around him, and then once those pieces fell in place, he almost went into the background, which is why you probably saw him acting out with a lot of things that he was doing. Because
there was lots of different. I think there were lots of issues. I think you're right. Also, I don't think Steve Waugh really ever knew how to captain spin. And if you go before that, Border didn't know, but he knew that he was a weapon. And then Mark Taylor really understood spin bowling, and so he set it up for Warne. And then we've talked about this before. Steve Waugh was much more about, well, if I've got Glenn McGrath, I'll just keep 5 slips in, and eventually someone's going to edge Glenn McGrath, and they almost always did, and that's how they had their success. So and also,
Warne can we talk about these rivalries? Can we do like a series of maybe a 5-part series of KimAppa or a separate like show
give me your best
rivalries,
teammate rivalries. Warne War is really, really interesting, I think. I think that's one of the best ones ever.
That's really cool.
I'm trying to think of some of the others. KP versus...
KP versus the whole of England team.
All the bowlers, certainly. Maybe he was okay with Tremlett, actually. I think he was friends with Tremlett, wasn't he? But almost all the other bowlers at various times did not like KP. Virat Rohit.
I was scared to say it. I was actually scared to say
I thought you would say. I thought when I said it, you would be like,
I
"Don't
was
say
like,
that."
Can I find another name before Virat?
Um.
uh,
Oh, was in Waka. I think is a really interesting one, right?
really?
Yeah, because
Was there a rivalry, or was it just a friendship that turned into a rivalry?
I think they had issues.
Or was it media created?
I mean, let's try and get one of them on the show one time and talk. But I think there was genuine issues there, and I also think that part of it is probably Imran because he was trying to pump each one of them up and play them off against each other when they were younger, and then that sometimes that goes in the perfect situation. Like Courtney and Kurtley, no one ever heard of anything between them because Courtney instantly thought of himself as the second bowler, right? Yeah. If you don't think of yourself as the second bowler, like Gillespie and McGrath is another perfect example of, I don't think Gillespie ever thought of himself as better than McGrath. And so they worked perfectly well together. That's not how these things always go, right? I think there are, there's certainly some issues there. Who punched Graham Swan? It was Goffey. But that was only like a one-off, wasn't it? You've got the Michael Clark Katic one, but again, that's more of a one-off. Or maybe
but Michael Clark versus the entire Australian team.
Michael Clark versus many different people is a really interesting one because also in Michael Clark's case, he kind of goes from being very, very close to people to being like mortal
completely
enemies
alienated,
right? Yeah. Like he really does. Yeah. Like when it goes from being really close to everyone else. Do you know a really fun one?
I mean, what about Daryl Cullinan versus like just the whole South African side?
Did they not like him?
No, I don't think the
I don't know about that one.
Liked him. Like a whole deep dive on that, perhaps, isn't because we can actually ask because I remember reading in Faf's book about how as a youngster he was someone he really looked up to and was really mistreated badly.
I do remember that. So Kim Hughes versus the Australian Legends was another one, but the fun one that I know from old time. I mean, obviously we could go through the second Indian captain, Vizzy, who was his stories against his players and what they did. No. Oh my God, why can't I think of his first name? He was the
Vizzy. I know there was a Vizzy trophy. I don't know who his name.
Yeah, that's him. The Maharaj of
Vizag. Vijayanagar.
Yeah. Sorry, I pronounced that wrong. But so he captains. I can't believe you don't know these stories. So he captained, and he shouldn't have been captain. But
you have to understand, like we never had enough information in India, right? Like,
so he paid to captain India. He paid for the tour.
Bro, we gotta do this stuff, yeah. This is like fascinating stuff. Like,
and some of the stuff that he got up to on that tour is it's mind blowing, right? It's so like this guy was just off the charts. I'll give you one little thing. He would give gifts to the opposition bowlers in first class games.
What?
Yeah, because he obviously didn't want them to bowl at full pace because he couldn't play. He should have been there. Right? Okay, so if someone bowls against him properly, he'd be blown away. That's a good one. And one last one I'll give you is: have you ever heard of the religious wars in the Australian cricket team?
No.
Yeah. So there was obviously in Australia you kind of had Protestant and Catholic as the two major Christian groups, and I don't. If you don't know much about history, not always friends with each other. Those two groups. And there was a lot of Protestant players and a lot of Catholic players in the Australian team. And they were very much on different sides of each other. And if you go back, you can read between the lines of who was on whose side pretty easy. But we'll try and get an expert to come in on that one because that one's not my best.
We should probably even do a little bit of a deep dive. And you'll probably be able to get a lot more information on this than I do. And Yuvraj and MS.
Okay.
Or actually MS Dhoni versus some of the Indian seniors. That was,
like when he was young.
No, when he became captain and he was leading, say, he was picked up ahead of Sehwag and Gambhir and Yuvraj and the likes of those cricketers.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. I would probably, without doing any research, take Warne in Test cricket and Murali in ODI cricket. off the top of my head.
Like the personality wise, see the thing is, we can pick out the stats a little bit, but I think personality wise, they were so chalk and cheese, right?
Yeah.
Murli was like a smiling assassin, right? He was almost like, it's like he'd smile at you and be like, he's gonna get you out.
Well, I
But
always
with
thought of
Warning
Murali
was
as more like the
intimidating as
spree
a bowler.
killer, right? Like Murali was just going to take them in big loads, whereas even when Warne took wickets in big loads, he took them one by one. If that makes sense,
Yeah.
there was more of a there was more of a hunting with Warne, whereas Murali was so good he didn't really need to. Not that he couldn't hunt, of course, but he didn't need to do that in the same way. But
Yeah, that was never his
fascinating.
personality.
No.
He was very happy to fly under the radar and quietly get those wickets and just walk back home.
Have you ever heard the story about Murali bowling to Andy Flintoff, and he purposely gives him a bat? I think Flintoff might have made a duck in the first innings or something, and he purposely gives Flintoff a really poor delivery to get off the mark with. And like, I can't remember if it's Runatunga or one of the later captains, but they're going up to him and going, what are you doing? And he's like, yeah, he's my friend from Lancashire. And they're like, no.
That's so brilliant.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that fairly right. But I think Flintoff's told that story before of like, I just don't know if that
is
how,
like that. He's so affable. He's so
where I
cute, that
remember
man.
Warne playing against playing against New South Wales at the MCG, and Warne was more hyped, right? Like he was so like these were his friends, and he was like, I'm going to destroy them. I'm going to take them down. So there's a very different way of people.
But that's something about Australian culture that is so foreign to us, isn't we? It's like we're entering a different world. Like when I remember as a 16, 17-year-old when I first came to Australia, I remember being so what's the word? Feeling so at bay with the culture because it felt like they're saying something but they're meaning the complete opposite. It's like almost like someone's being sarcastic at you all the time.
passive aggressive, and you're not
the
sure
passive
whether
aggressive stuff, and you don't know what they
There's
what they actually mean.
There's a great Australian TV show called Wilfred, which is about a guy who dates a woman and then he becomes friends with the dog, but the dog is played by a human, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And I've always said that is the best. It's Adam Zwar, who's also written some stuff about cricket as well. That's the best representation of an Australian male, which is the minute you say something where you go too far, they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But the 5 things they said to you before that were passive-aggressive versions of the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and
you
so
can't be direct
constantly
about
on
stuff.
edge. You're constantly on edge in that situation.
Yeah.
Here's one for you. Amit says, do you think not taking Laxman for the 2002, I think he means 2003, ODI World Cup cost India?
Wow. That's like a... Where did you take us, Amit?
I think Australia wins that World Cup no matter who's in.
Yeah, they were just too dominant. Just too dominant.
They won that World Cup without Gillespie and Warne, and they still were incredible in that tournament. Abhilash says, India figured out Head by Melbourne last year. They set up a short ball field with square leg, a mid-wicket, bowl full, and caught him LBW. He's vulnerable there, but he knows that as well. He's actually got, this is the interesting thing about Head is, I'd say he has more vulnerabilities than other players of his caliber. But that's you could say the same of Rishabh Pant or Adam Gilchrist. Like there's a lot of those guys. The reason that they attack is partly because they know that there's all those flaws. But if you get it wrong and you start bowling full to him and he starts hitting you over mid-on for 6, try keep that plan going.
It's about making sure he remains underconfident, right? In each innings as a batter, you want to make sure the likes of Rishabh Pant, Travis Head, all of these guys remain underconfident. Because if the minute they get that little lick of confidence in themselves, then they can take over the whole and they can supersede the confidence of the entire 11 on the field. That's the kind of personality that they are. So you want to keep them there at all points at bay and try and get them out. But Abhilash is very well spotted. Yeah, this is bang on, man. Well done.
Gabriel says, guys, according to you, what are the criteria or stats for a batsman to be considered legend or GOAT, or should it be match-winning knocks like Travis said? There's no one metric. So when we were doing the art of batting, we started with obviously a mathematical way of looking at it, because I think it's fair to say that players who are more consistent are more. When we go match-winning knocks, well, how do we know the other guy who made the steady 100 in the background wasn't helping you win hundreds all the time just because you remember the one that was more exciting? But there isn't like a single metric that you can look at. So this idea that you have to average 50 in Test cricket to be a great, we need to get rid of that. That one's dead. It doesn't work. There are many players who have not averaged 50 who are obviously greats in Test match cricket. So we need to get past that. But over a period of time, I think you do have to show consistency. There are JP Dumini's played one of the best knocks I've ever seen. Right? I'm not sure I've got JP Dumini in my list as one of the greatest batters of all time. Like you have to be realistic and say they have to do it consistently. So I think it's a lot more.
There must be
confusing
different
than that.
metrics, right? What have you taken as metrics to put guys into your list of top 50 batters?
We looked at number of runs. We looked at number of years active. We looked at number of years where you average over 40 and number of years at which you average over 50. We look at averages away. We looked at averages in Asia for the periods of times when lots of people are playing in Asia, so we can get an idea of how you played the turning ball in Asia. We looked at people against on the greener pitches of New Zealand, England, and South Africa, again, which give us a bit of a shorthand on how you go against the seaming and swinging ball. We look at the other players in your game. Did you make the same amount of runs as them, or did you make more amount of runs than them? We looked at other players in your era. We also looked at strike rate where it was applicable. And then we did sort of look at, is there I think in Garfield Sobers, in Kevin Peterson's case, and you could throw Travis Head in there as well, is this player the sort of player who can change a game in a session, and therefore their hundreds are perhaps more important to your side than someone else making 100 at certain times, right? Like if the score's 30 for 3, and KP comes in and scores 100 in that first session, his team's on top by the end of that session, right? Unless there's a bunch of wickets at the other end. Whereas if you had Alistair Cook, they might be 70 for 3 by lunch, not 130 for 3. And so you have to factor those things in, I think, as well.
What was winning matches and partnerships a part of the criteria?
Didn't look at partnerships as much, only because the data's a bit tricky. We looked at median entry point for middle order players. So if you have a really bad top order, you're going to be in earlier. What was the other one you said? Winning matches. Yeah, we looked at averages. Yeah. So no, that's a really good point. It doesn't matter as much with modern cricketers, Robbie, but the thing that we looked at a lot was, let's say you average 50 with the bat, but you might average 70 in draws and 35 in wins. For us, that's not a plus batter when it comes to the greatest batters of all time. Not that it's still not a very good player, because you and I know it's still hard to be able to average 70 on those flat pitches. But we are specifically, one of the things that we looked at was how good your batting average was in result matches when generally the scores are lower, right? Scores are higher in draws and everywhere else. So if you averaged a lot in losses and wins, we took that as a big thing. We also looked at opening batters when they were sent in. How good are you when the opposition thinks the pitch is helpful? So little things like that all the way through. How you go in long series. I think that's one of the things with Len Hutton. You realize by the end of a series, Len Hutton had basically worked out every bowler he went up against, right? So by the end of the series, you weren't getting Len Hutton out. Whereas at the start of the series, you had a chance of nicking him off a couple of times, getting him LBW bowled. By the end of the series, you just had to watch him bat. Right. Yeah. And the same within, it's harder to bat in the fourth innings than any other innings. So guys like Bruce Mitchell and Yunus Khan, they get a bump because of how good they were in the end. So it's kind of, to answer the question, it's endless what you're looking at. Right. And then you have to weigh up what matters to you and what doesn't matter to you, which is why in the book we have them in tiers. Right. Because it's like, and in ranges, because how they matter to me may not be how they matter to you or someone else. But I think you can make a case that this player could be as high as this or as low as this, and then it's up to you to work out where you would have them individually within that mark.
It's fascinating because I think winning matches and contributing to wins should be added to any any measure of how good or bad, how great a batter or a bowler is, right? The impact they have on winning matches and winning series and championships. Cause
the problem with that is that most good players have a better average when they win than when they lose. That's really common, right? The second problem with that is that batters don't actually win games. Batters are useless. Bowlers win games, right? And so Bradman is the guy.
Art of bowling will probably have.
Yes, I think the art of bowling, because if you look at the history of cricket, you've got Richard. We've already talked about him today. Murali, Richard Hadley, and Fazal Mahmood are 3 almost single bowling attacks. Right? They're 3 of the most interesting cricketers in the history of our game. Outside of Bradman, you don't really have anyone else who kind of won games on his own consistently all the way through the bat. Only because there's 6 batters or 7 batters in some sides, right? And so it's always more evenly spread. And so it is tougher. Whereas with the bowlers, especially in those bowling attacks where they were undermanned, Fazal Mahmood would just win games for Pakistan. And if he didn't take wickets, Pakistan would lose. That isn't quite the case. And the other thing that you have to factor in, which is that Brian Lara, Shivnaran Chandrapal, and Andy Flower played an awful lot of losses, right? And they have the 3 highest batting averages in losses of, I think it's over 20 losses or something. Herbert Sutcliffe,
sure.
Herbert Sutcliffe, by the way, your serial killer from before, actually has I think he might have the highest batting average in losses, even higher than Bradman's. So, yeah, it's fascinating. The thing with us is, I don't think we'll ever come out with like the final number. Do you know what I mean? There isn't one thing that you want to look at. You want to try to. It's almost more like you're being a lawyer at a certain point. You're building a case for these players, and you're like, and someone will be like, oh, but you looked at this for this player, and you didn't look at that for that player. And it's like, yeah, but this is, in this case, this guy's an outlier in this thing, and this guy's just average. And so that's what we're trying to do.
So you're almost advocating for players.
Yeah, and then against them as well.
Greatness.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So you get really nitpicky with really good players, and you feel like a dick because you're like, I'm being nitpicky with the 14th best player of all time because he hasn't made 100 in Australia yet, right? And it's like, it doesn't matter. Supra says, bring back India Red versus India Blue versus Green before the T20 for real. No?
For example.
Yeah, well, he's come up with the teams, but we know what he means.
India A.
Yeah.
Iyer complete for 4th spot.
You would have played some of those games, wouldn't you?
It was called the Challenger Trophy. Yeah, we played a bunch of it. It was called the NKP Salve Trophy. That's how I actually came into the limelight because I got 100 in red ball 1-day cricket. I got 150. I got 150 not out. In Goa and in summer. I ended up going to the hospital after the game because I was cramping everywhere. I was cramping in my fingers, and you know what cramps like there wasn't a part of my body that wasn't like wrung out cramping. You could feel balls like knots on my arms, my forearms, everywhere. I was like that, like spazzing out, cramping completely, and they took me to the hospital. So the drive was like manic. They put me down. They made me literally lie down in this car called the Maruti Omni, which is like a mini like a Volkswagen van.
Wait, you're on the floor of it?
I was on the floor of it because nothing worked, and then they were just putting ice packs and trying to open out the cramps and all that, and then they put the drip in, right? They took me to the hospital. They put the drip in a government hospital, and then just everything started opening up. Like all the knots started releasing. It was like some magic happened. Dude, that oof. I can think about that, and I can go back into trauma territory.
I've had cramps my whole life, and and I've had them full body cramps as well. It's so horrendous, and it feels like everything's going to snap on you. You actually feel like you're going to kind of explode.
Yeah, it just feels that. So coming back to the real world.
Kaushal says, Rajasthan versus Mumbai trade. Who would you trade Jaiswal for? Absolutely no one.
Yeah. Why? Why would you even do that?
You've got a franchise player. Keep him. Siddharth says, VK doesn't even surprise me anymore.
Batting,
Goats.
Yeah.
He's still very good at
It's
batting.
like you.
I remember Jeff Lemon wrote this great article. Remember when Steve Smith got banned for sandpaper and then he came back and he played the Edgbaston Test? And everyone's like, he hasn't even been playing Test cricket. And I remember Jeff Lemon writing an article going, man who is very good at cricket did not play for a little while and then came back and was still very good at cricket. And it's one of my favorite articles of just destroying the narrative of everyone else. It was absolutely brutal. Abhilash says, Robbie, we watch Jared for objectivity and data. If we need entertainment, there are thousands of channels on YouTube are comical in their analysis in the name of journalism. Abhilash, I don't just do.
Please give context, guys. I know Jared is all about objectivity and data, but you got to give context here because this is not a. I wouldn't say this is not a data heavy show. It's never meant to be a data heavy show.
No, I do so many other shows like that, guys. I do people have everyone ever heard me do a show with Bumble? There's no data there. And one of the
Yeah.
reasons I wanted Robbie on was not to sit here and read out spreadsheets to him.
I
It's because
swear.
Robbie has, I think I have the ability to get out of player stuff that they can't always get out on their own because they're not used to broadcasting in that particular way, right?
They're not
And
comfortable broadcasting like that either.
yeah, exactly. And then on the other side of this as well is that there are things that you don't know as fans, right? That Robbie knows, right?
Yeah.
And that is what this show is about. It's taking
You
it in
know
a
as
different
well.
direction.
And
Hey,
you and the thing is, these things as well, that a lot of the fans that don't know this stuff, right?
yeah,
But
but
when you
even
deep
so,
dive into but when you deep dive into data and analysis and all that, you never have it's never the right space to talk about that stuff, right?
so for me, this is, I think other people get hung up on this, right? So if you look at my career, I started off basically breaking myths in cricket, right? That was what the old cricket with balls day was like, literally going, this is nonsense. Why can't wicket keepers captain, right? Stuff like that. And then making fun of, and looking at it from a global perspective, then become a feature writer, right? Then I become sort of a stats guy. Then it goes off into all these different areas that I've done ever since. The thing with me is I want to find out the things that I don't know. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter to me if there is a number or if it is Robbie talking to me about batting and sunglasses, which before today I would have made fun of him for doing, right? I didn't know about this, right? I
Yeah.
didn't, even the Steve Smith thing, I kind of get it because I've heard Shiv Narayan explain it a little bit. But again, I don't really understand that side of things. Robbie knows things that the rest of you do not know. Yes, we're going to have fun to get there. And yes, we will make him look at cricketers versus serial killers occasionally, right? But listen to the way he talks through the Rohit, who was it today? Virat and the Head hundreds today. He's doing something that we can't do. So the whole idea in my career, whether it's interviewing someone about their life or a topic that they know, or it's finding data, or it's writing a feature on something, is the same thing of can we entertain while finding out things that we don't know? That is what
Yeah.
me and Robbie are trying to do here. If you're looking for a normal video, we have plenty of other videos, right? But we also do
Mm.
crick picks where we literally, all it is making fun of each other for making horrendous decisions on the channel. Like it's, you know what I mean? Which we will also get Robbie to do, by the way, so that you can continue to roast him there in a whole different
Yeah.
way. Laughing at Nothing says, Harsha Bogle talked about how India now has too many domestic teams in Ranchi. 38 teams, leading to lesser quality. Would less teams improve quality? I think you need more teams, but you need divisions.
Yeah. And the thing is, yeah, the I would say the difference of quality between certain teams and the others, right? Like say, there are divisions here, and the divisions exist only for red ball cricket. They don't exist for white ball cricket. And then you have like the numbers are so off right now because some of these, say for example, first class cricketers who are really proficient first class cricketers from say strong states, like say for example a Delhi or a Haryana or a Mumbai or a Gujarat, right? They end up going to one of these smaller states like a Mizoram or a Nagaland or somewhere else, and they go there, and the quality of cricket is so bad. Like in the sense, when I say so bad, that they still grow, like they still have to get up to
Yeah, they're
scratch, right?
developing. Yeah.
They're developing. So that these guys go there and they make absurd records, right? You score three.
Oh, have we lost Robbie? I've lost Robbie. I feel like I'm still here. Um, so I'll just explain it from my perspective while Robbie is stuck on the best pause I have seen in quite a while. Is I remember this conversation being made about county cricket. And there's an element of truth to it in that one of the reasons that Sheffield Shield cricket is so strong is that you have six teams. And so you're almost always playing like almost a test quality opposition. But but what Australia also had was a second 11 competition, which traditionally, I'm talking what 80s, 90s into early 2000s, was basically the second tier, and no one knew it existed. So really, Australia had 12 teams, right? And because of that, it had one division where people had to prove themselves, and it had another one where you were basically playing, almost test cricket because of the quality of Australian cricket at that point. And you don't want to miss out on the players if you just have if you took it from 38, especially in a country like India, if you
Thank
took it
God.
from 38 teams to 15 teams or 16 teams, right? There's so many cricketers who are going to be missed out in a situation like that. So what you really want to do is have as many teams as possible playing high level professional cricket. So let's say there are 38 teams that could do that. And then you eventually want all the best players to play against each other. Maybe it is in the blue versus green games or whatever that it may be, or north west, west
They already
versus
have all
north
that
and
right
everything.
now.
No, but I'm saying, but if you have that as almost that might even you might end up having Ranchi as the like in South Africa they have like the provincial first class and then they have the franchise first class. You could do something similar in India permanently so that players don't actually the top players don't even play in Ranchi anymore. They play
So
above
what,
Ranchi in something else.
I'm going to catch flock for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think one of the challenges in India is that
Did he drop out again? He literally said, I'm going to catch flack for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. And then he just pressed the button to turn off his Wi-Fi. That's how I read that, everyone. PJ Back says, how do you deal with Virat Kohli's toxic behavior for your book? This is something that I think there are other people, when you're not writing a project or you haven't written projects like this before. Like I've had to write on, Giles Clark and Srinivasan and match fixing cricketers and everything else. Everyone is kind of, and if you follow sort of Hollywood screenwriting, or actually Hollywood actors are really good talking about this. When they're playing a villain, they're not playing a villain to play a villain. They're trying to, quite often, the best villains in their own minds are heroes, right? And so you look at it as, oh, Virat Kohli's being toxic. I look at it as Virat Kohli trying to do what Virat Kohli thinks he needs to do, right? And
yeah,
it comes out in this particular way. But he's not sitting there going, I am a villain, I am toxic. In his mind, he's not doing that. So when you're writing it, you shouldn't be thinking about it that way either. You should be thinking about it from the perspective of what he was trying to do. Now, if I write it correctly, it should also be very clear to other people that he has made mistakes in his life, because no human has not
yeah,
made mistakes. And then you
correct.
get
And that's one of the.
yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, you're back.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's one of the things that fans are not open to seeing, that their heroes are also human and they make
Yeah,
mistakes, and that's absolutely fine. You can still love them, and you can still cherish them, and you can still celebrate them, and they can be everything that you perceive them to be, despite being a human being.
yeah. And I think it's one of the things I teach in my sports writing course, which we just finished the latest draft. That's going to be uploaded again shortly onto a new platform, but I'll let everyone know when it comes out. But one of the first things I say is you have to understand that you're writing about human beings, right? And and that there was a reason why this thing happened, and you're not always even going to be able to find out that reason, right? Like I know,
Yeah.
and so you have to understand that when you're putting this together, and more importantly, as I said, he is trying to live his life in the best way possible while making normal mistakes that everyone else would. The difference is that we see
Yeah.
every single flaw, right? Every single mistake,
Yeah.
that comes up. So I just, I think when I've written my best biographies of players or features on players, it's really interesting that like someone will be like, oh, that piece was so brutal on blah blah this player, and then someone else will come up and go, oh, that was such a loving testament to that player. And it's because I haven't written it differently for those two different people. It's that they've come in and I've laid the facts out, and one of them has got very hooked on these facts, and the other one's like, oh yeah, he talked about the bad things, but actually he talked about the good things as well, and that's why it was such a nice piece altogether. So that's kind of what you have to do. I'm not a moral judge when I'm writing about someone, because I wouldn't want anyone to be a
Yeah.
moral judge on me. Like, I just want you to put the facts out and try and explain it as best you can. Robbie, you said that you were going to get a lot of flack for something and then you cut your own Wi-Fi off. Do you want to finish that
Yeah,
sentence?
no, I didn't. So okay, so yeah, so I was just saying that I was going to catch a lot of flack for this, is because I think one of the things that India struggle with is innovation, right? I think we have all the ingredients for innovation, but I think we struggled with innovating stuff. Like, for example, we were talking about the draft in the auction, instead of the auction, right? You're sitting on a beautiful opportunity, but you're not innovating on it. You're sitting on the opportunity of creating an IPL Division 2 that can run parallelly or simultaneously during the IPL and still develop players, but you're not doing it, right? In first class cricket, there's so much that you can do to develop talent, but that's not being done because there's already so much to do. But with the enormity of the of the BCCI and the opportunity that exists within it, they're not tapping it all out. A lot more can be fleshed out, and it can be a lot more structured, but that hasn't happened because we as a country generally are by nature averse to innovation, because if something's doing well, we're like, why rock that apple cart when it's already doing well?
It's interesting. If you go through the history of cricket, India is now in charge, but they've never really innovated, all that much. I mean, there's a couple of moments where things have happened and they've been ahead of it. And I'm talking about on or off the field here. And it's quite fascinating that a country like South Africa, which is also quite a conservative country, kind of traditionally, actually did innovate quite a lot, even when they weren't playing international cricket, right? There was some innovation back in the day. So it's fascinating the way that different cultures sort of handle these sorts of things and the way they go about it. Whereas someone like New Zealand has always been innovating, right? But that's because their problem is not a problem of the masses; it's a problem of the lack of masses. So they have to make things work out of a small field, right. Whereas India is like, yeah, but we'll eventually the numbers will just be the numbers.
Yeah, and I think it's actually harder to innovate in India also because of the volume of people that are there, and to get something done sometimes is actually a lot harder in India because of just how the structures are. It's not a straight line, It's not like one leads to the other. A lot of challenges you face along the way. But is it possible? I think it is possible, and I think that not enough is done in that effort, in that vein, especially with IPL. Like I can think of like 3 things that can be done, and you and I can come up with probably 5 ideas that can be done to improve, the quality of cricketers just coming through the ranks in India sustainably over a period of next 20 to 30 years, right? Systems in place, structures in place that can keep finding new talent, and keep that volume of talent coming through the ranks for India to make India a force to reckon with, or a sustained force to reckon with.
Just remember, everyone, that Robbie accuses me of throwing him under the bus all the time, and he's decided to say India cannot innovate as a nation. We'll see you again next time on the KimAppa podcast. Like, subscribe. We're trying to show these on Instagram Live. We're hoping it went up on Instagram Live today. I'm not 100% sure. I can't tell from
here.
We're
hoping.
but we're doing test runs on that as well. So if you want to watch on Instagram rather than YouTube or wherever else, also you can listen to the audio part, but please like, subscribe to all the things that Robbie and I do. And we will be back again next week for another edition of Throw Robbie Under the Bus.